Leo says, I think we discussed before how sentiment analysis can be tricky, but we can give it a try. Tricky in what way, Leo? I mean, if you have a different concern than Absol, let's hear it, right? Totally okay for us to hear it. Let me know what you think. Leo says, why avoid API? Because once you put the API out there, that means other people can see it, right? The API key. So we have to track about which ones we use, and then you have to go back to the site and cancel it, right? So that people who see this in the future, they can't reuse it. It's kind of a pain that way, right? So I think that there's a couple of improvements that we can do on this script. So first of all, it requires you to send in the single ticker symbol as part of the command line call for this script. I don't like that. And what I really want to do also is save this to a CSV, right? Because this script is not our input, right? The result of these scripts will be our inputs into Fatima's algorithm, right? So let's refine our prompt or our code with ChatGPT. List object. Okay. I think that should provide enough guidance for the refinement. Let's see what happens. Okay, go through these. File name, yep. Okay, list of stock symbols, that's good. Okay, this looks much better. And it's going to go ahead and save it here at the very end. Save the articles or the stock symbol in stock symbols. It gave us an example of 3, but obviously that can be expanded as much as we need. Saving articles to CSV looks reasonable. Getting news articles seems reasonable except for the API key thing. But yeah, this looks totally reasonable. So I'll tell you what, let's put a pin in this one and let's work on the price collection one, because I think that one we can do without any API keys. It looks like the Y Finance API library does not require an API key. But I think that there's very little reason why this code here wouldn't work as desired. So everybody okay with that, or anybody want to pause for feedback there? Leo says mainly bias and for certain assets can be based on speculation. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think to Leo's point, that's going to be one of the problems, right? Like, maybe not necessarily biased news, but when it comes to companies, a lot of the news that are out there are really just opinion pieces, right? Like an analyst wrote it. So I think that's definitely a risk. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'd call that a bias. It's just the nature of the business, right? Like, you know, there's analysts out there who are paid to give their opinions. Like that's their job, right? So I think that's kind of what you're getting at there, Leo, and I can totally see that. So Fatima, maybe that's something to think to keep in mind, right? That just because it's news and printed doesn't mean like it's like factually based, right? There's still speculation, as Leo says. So something to think about, Fatima. Like I'm not sure if that's something like we have to tackle today, but you know, just generally speaking, in terms of these like sentiment-based models, which I know are popular and all that, we got to keep that in mind, right? So something to think about, Fatima. And if you ever reply to that, you know, you're welcome to. But you know, I think Leo's making a valid point here. So Afsal says, ultimately, we need to reduce bias. If we can do that, it would be better since it may give us the future trends too. But I always prefer quality data. Yeah, Afsal, I appreciate your view. But here's the thing, right? Like, what's quality when it comes to NLP? Like literally, like what's quality? Like I'm not asking as a rhetorical question. I'm asking like literally, like quality of what, right? So it's kind of like, you know, can you really quantify that? You can attempt to, right? You can attempt to come up with your own quantifying model, but I don't know. It seems like it's a very difficult thing in NLP, right? Like you can define quality data for like structured data, right? For sure. But for NLP, like what's quality? I don't know. Maybe you have a better answer than I do. You know, I'm open for your suggestions on that. But like literally, like what's quality for NLP? I don't know. Does anybody else want to answer that? I mean, just because I don't have the answer doesn't mean that, you know, one doesn't exist, right? But you know, this is great discussion though, guys. I'm really appreciating Leo and Fatima's and Afsal's participation here, because we should be having this, right? We should be saying, like, you know, hey, I like that idea, but this is my concern. This is how I see it. This has been my life experience. What's your life experience been like, right? Very, very good process here, guys. Good job to everybody for doing that. Okay, so let's see if we can't get to that price data. I like the structure that it used, so let's encourage it to keep using that same structure. Afsal said, well, excuse me, I skipped over. So Leo says, yep. Yeah, so Leo and I were seeing that the same way as far as the, you know, the news really just being like analyst opinion pieces, right? That's common. Manoj says agree with Leo and Afzal. Yeah, I mean, look, I think everybody's bringing up good points, and Fatima also, right? But you know, it's good that we're talking this out. Afzal means, yeah, I mean structured data. Yeah, sure. I mean, structured data, you can absolutely have measurement qualities, right? But with NLP, you know, you really can't, right? But having said that, that's also where the alpha lies, right? I mean, Fatima is on the right track in thinking that, you know, kind of thinking outside the box that way, right? Because you're not going to find alpha just by looking at the same data everybody else is looking at, right? You're not going to out data the world. So, you know, the sentiment analysis is very valid in that regard, right? That there's at least the potential to find something there.